So while I'm, kind of in a season of ranting, so to speak, I might as well touch on, well, what does averages failure mean? And for those who have seen my work over the past little more than 10 years, that it's all, for the most part, been underneath the name averages failure. We should switch things up a bit in terms of, I'm utilizing this royal beasthood um, name, and I haven't sunset averages failure. It's still a phrase in my repertoire. It's still something that I believe in, but it's one of the things that I've always explained. Some folks here and there have had some false notions of what it meant, and sometimes people have thought that what I was saying through averages failure, is that you have to be, don't be average as it pertains to comparing yourself to other folks out there, right? And what averages failure always represented was not you judging whether or not you're mediocrity. It wasn't about whether or not you were mediocre, juxtaposed against the world or juxtaposed against society, culture, other people, the Joneses, so to speak. It was always about who you were as a person and your best self versus your mediocre self. And that, a lot of times, that has nothing to do with money or performance in some way, shape, or form, right? It wasn't about, what type of job you had, or a specific type of work. It wasn't about entrepreneurship per se, although there was one point in time where, I kind of fell into the trap of thinking that entrepreneurship was everything, right? But what it's mainly been about has been who am I when I am at my best and when I am operating in this world the way that God would have me to operate in this world, right? And comparing how I'm operating today versus how I should be operating ultimately, right? So again, that could have nothing to do with money. That could have to do with how am I operating this world as a parent? Matter of fact, it may even, right, because this also goes back to some of what we constantly see happening, which is, it's almost like, I go, 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 go. At all points in time, be making more money, be making more money, be making more money. As if we haven't seen the problems that has led to, individually and collectively as a society and as a collection of societies, right? But sometimes, averages failure represented maybe making less money so that you could be who you need to be as a parent. Maybe, what do you give up, giving up your time so that you can pour into others, or so that you can be of assistance to somebody who has no means by which to offer you, that's going to impact or take you to the next level per se, etc., etc., right? Kind of like the lingo that we utilize. Averages failure might simply be, hey, are you looking at and taking care of your health, right? It could be, shoot, are you taking time to just make sure that the house, where you live, is in decency and in order, right? It might be simple as saying, hey, like, I don't even want to just focus on my house. Does my neighborhood, right? Can I be a part of it? Clean up my neighborhood. Shoot, averages failure might be saying, hey, seeing how things are going out there, maybe I need to go out there and vote. In order to at least, put something in the ballot box towards what I believe will be the best, will provide the best future for my family and my society, right? It could be so many different things. And it could also include, hey, have I done all that I can to just make sure that my family is provided for as best as I can provide for them, right? But again, provision isn't always a financial thing. Some of the, y'all, if we look at what Christ has done, you know what I'm saying? And yes, some people might argue that, well, he had, he wasn't merely just a man. All right, you could argue that. But maybe let's look on down to even his disciples, okay? Many times, or just the people who he interacted with, many times the people that he seems to approve of, whether it be their faith, whether it be their way of thinking, um, and many of the times the people who he sees as being blessed are individuals who don't even have means by which to do much, right? The woman with the two, I'll just call them pennies for now, two mites, right? And she gives that, and that's all she has. And he's like, yo, she's given more than all these other individuals, who are, giving lavishly. And not simply because, yes, you could look at it, okay, maybe all she has is two mites, so she gave a greater percentage, right? But I don't even think that it's about the percentage per se, right? It's where her heart was at in the giving, you know? So I'm veering a little off topic, but it is connected, right? But Average's failure has always been about, what are the assignments that God has given you, and most importantly, is your heart and is your thinking where He would have it to be, so that you can operate with wisdom in this world. And for some folks, that wisdom might make them more money. But one of my greatest heroes of current times still remains to be Martin Luther King Jr. And when I look at Martin Luther King Jr., all of us look at him. He's literally who I think of as the epitome of Average's failure, and where I've always wanted people to get to through that phrase, because his success, we all look at him and say that he is a success, right? Influential, impactful, and yet that success has nothing to do with money. And as a matter of fact, that success, how many times do we say, look at him and look at Jesus, right? Two men who lose their lives in their 30s for the sake of being who they were supposed to be in this world, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Prayerfully, most people won't have to lose their life, is my hope, in order to be who they need to be in this world, right? But what I'm getting at is that success had nothing to do with entrepreneurship, had nothing to do with making money. Matter of fact, primarily it had to do with, who am I in relationship to the people around me, and am I being who God has asked me to be for my family, for myself, for my community? Have I been a blessing? Have I treated people with dignity and respect? Have I taken myself seriously and treated myself with dignity and respect, and respected the work and the opportunity that God has put in front of me, right? The goal has always been, yes, to take advantage of opportunity, but to make sure that you're taking advantage of the opportunity that is in front of you and that is for you, and not being kind of like tricked into thinking that everybody else's opportunity is the opportunity that you really need, and you got to go pay for this over here in order to be just like this person over here, what have you, right? They might have something helpful to share, but the goal is never to just be a copycat of that, or to fall into thinking that if you ain't at least trying to approach where they approach, that you're doing something wrong. So anyway, that's where the phrase Average's failure is from. But I'll leave it at that for now. Again, hopefully some of these things that I'm sharing are helpful. Stop chasing. Peace.